Code and Chill is a channel where, we invite a couple of guests sometimes, or we host, or we invite our own, the team members internally to explore something related with, front-end technologies out there. So that's why, like today, we chose one of the coolest technologies out there, Remix, to discover together with Storyblok. So that's what we are going to, do together. So it's not going to be just like me and Facundo, like having some discussions and then like end. No, it's going to be quite hands-on and practical. So you also will get to have a chance to, like play around, like live together with us. So if something is not working in your environment, in your local machine, you have a chance to ask us on the comment section. So if you're watching this live, then take your chance, ask away, and we are here to help you with, and also, get hands-on with you. And if you're watching this recording, feel free to reach out to us. As you can see on my name, there's my Twitter, I would say like a username. Facundo could also like post in the channel, I would believe. And you can write us. And also like we have a Discord channel, like where it's more officially, I would say, for our community folks to write down like any questions out there. Me and Facundo ourselves, we're hanging out there and, having some conversation and actually try to communicate with users if they have some, let's say, questions coming up. So yeah, those are the places where you could, go. I would say like go to more Discord. So you would get to know like not just us, but more of the pros in our team. So that's about our Code and Chill. And I would say let's introduce ourselves. So I was talking too much already, so I would give you the ball to you, Facundo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the great introduction, Arisa. Yes, a cool opportunity to have people joining us and learning more about Storyblok, Remix, and other cool things. We encourage you to join, to participate, to ask if you have any question or anything. My name is Facundo. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a developer relations engineer at Storyblok. Arisa and I joined the company actually on the same day, a couple of years from now. So we are, I would say, probably the oldest members of the team, or right now we are, right? We are actually the oldest members. I mean, not oldest because of our ages. Not oldest because of our ages, which probably I am too, but no. But I mean, we are the people that has been part of the DevRel team for longer period of time at Storyblok. We love to spend some time trying new technologies. We've been playing and working with Remix during the last months or a couple of years. Now I will pass the ball to Arisa.
Yeah. I don't know if I can be like as funny as you like did your intro part, but I do my best. So, my name is Arisa, as you can see. Originally, I'm from Japan, but I live in Germany. That's why I'm joining this streaming live from Germany. So, what else? I mean, pretty much like what I do is similar to what Facundo does, but of course, like we both like have some different, let's say, like expert areas where we speak at, what we work on. So I do similar stuff like what Facundo does, but let's say like some of the areas besides from the remix, I do work on different technologies, such as like I'm maintaining the Gatsby SDK we have. And I'm more React-based background. So besides from that, I also like nowadays write a lot of, let's say, stuffs with Astra to discover. And what else? Yeah, but I want to focus on the remix for today. Yeah. So yeah, we also talk like quite often in some of the conferences. So maybe like you might see us in somewhere like online, in person, live streaming. Who knows? So if you see us, maybe if you see
us,
if
you're traveling to Germany, to London, to Spain, probably you can.
Or
make some
even
time
to the
and say hi
States.
in person, or even to the States. You can say
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hi to us, spend some time.
Yeah, definitely. So that's who we are. And I guess we can now start the hands-on part. But before doing that, let me quickly share some of these resources that will be useful for you. So we are gonna use this, or maybe I can already start
I
sharing a
can share
screen.
them if you want. I can
Yeah, yeah,
share
yeah.
the
Let's do this. Yeah.
links.
Mhm.
Give me a second.
Yeah, because
I will
we're
share
gonna
it
get hands-on. So
in
we're
the
gonna share the
channel.
info about the, yeah.
Basically, I'm
Okay.
sharing two interesting links because, well, something that I didn't
Mhm.
mention, but you can probably hear about that, or you already read about that, is that DevRels, what are DevRels? If you're not familiar with the concept, developer relations engineers, I mean, what Arisa and I are at Storyblok, what we try to do is to make the work easier for developers to, to connect the developers from the community with the Storyblok users or the Storyblok community, which generally are developers too. So trying to help the developers and the community itself to get onboarding get onboarded as easy as is possible with the Storyblok as a product, but also with the projects that they are working on, or the tasks that you are planning to do, or learn something new, with the tools that you want to use for your projects. And that's what we try to do, is basically contribute to the community in different ways. We are participating on the Discord server that Arisa shared before. We also participate on events, like in-person events like conferences, or even online streams like this one. We are also writing content and creating tutorials and guides to make the work easier for developers to use Storyblok and implement Storyblok into their projects. And we also spend some time playing with some technologies and trying to see how to integrate them with Storyblok. And one of these cases, or one of those examples, is what we are going to do today with Remix, a framework that we've been using lately, Arisa and I, and some other members from Storyblok, but we know that the community has been using. Actually, Arisa and Alexa, another member from the DevRel team, participated both on June, it was, no, or May,
Yeah,
in
it's
the
May.
in the Remix Conf in Salt Lake City in the United States. They both presented talks at the events, and Storyblok had a booth there. So yeah, that's a sign to show you how we are interested into the Remix community, interested on and on engaging with the Remix community, and seeing how we can create and collaborate in a way to create cool projects using Storyblok as a content management system, in a way to manage, to store, and to deliver the content that we are using on our projects, applications, and websites. And on the other hand, how to use this tool, Storyblok, or this service, Storyblok, with cool technologies like Remix in this case. So I will stop talking because I can continue talking for an hour and a half if you want. But I imagine that you want to see the cool and fun things. And I will leave the mic to Arisa to start with that.
Oh, but don't stop, like, let's say, like,
No, 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 no.
chatting,
I will.
like,
No,
during,
for sure, for sure. I will
like,
be here.
yeah, 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 for sure. And feel free to spot something if it's
For
not, like,
sure, I will
correct.
do that.
Anything could happen, like, during the live, like, session. So, and
You
it's been
never
a while
know.
for me to write the code in live. So, let's see, fingers
A
crossed.
good challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't want to go, like, off the road, but there was, like, a very funny, like, Twitter, like, video, like, in comparison, like, when you're writing a code alone, you're writing code like a, like, pro. But then on the other hand, when you feel somebody is watching,
Feel the
you
pressure.
feel
Feel the
like,
pressure.
yeah, you
Everything
cannot
that can
write
fail
anything at
will
all.
fail.
Yeah. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, people are here to, watch the hands-on part, so I get going. Anyway, so what Facundo shared with you in the chat, one of them is this GitHub repository. So this is in under the official Storyblok org. I would say like GitHub account. So when you go access to this link that Facundo shared with you, you can have exactly the same repo. It's in public, so anyone can come here and fork. I would say like if you really don't have time, or if you want to have like everything working like right away, then come here to this GitHub repository and then fork. Then just swap the one of the preview API key address, which I'm also going to cover quickly. So then if you really don't have time, then you have this, like shortcut. But if you have time to follow with us today, then I would say that just keep in your mind that there is a final answer repo is there. But instead, we are going to follow this article, which Facundo also shared with you. I think it was like the first URL. Yeah. So this is hands-on blog post tutorial, and this is what exactly we are going to cover. It's written in 5 minutes, but we are going to stretch a little bit longer because it's a live streaming. You don't want to, like finish the fun part for just 5 minutes. So bear with me about that part. But it's written really hands-on. So if you get stuck in some steps, I would always recommend you to come back in here and have a look at where you were following. So you also have the example, let's say, command that you can execute. There are some of the screenshots that you can be sure that you're following correct. And there are lots of useful information that you can follow along. So you can also keep in your mind that we are going to follow this article, but I don't want to, just read out the article, which is going to be boring. So we're going to do the hands-on from now on, finally. So if you don't have an account, then you can always come to our website, storyblok.com, and then you can create an account for free. So in my case, I already have an account because I work at Storyblok. So I'm just going to head over to login. I see a huge nodding from Facundo. Yes, I do have an account.
I mean, if you don't have an account, we are in trouble.
I would be, yeah. So in your screen, it might look a bit different because the numbers of, let's say, the projects that I'm working on are more numbers than probably you have. But in Storyblok, we don't call, let's say, like these square cells as projects. Instead, we are calling them spaces. So that's where we could start, first of all, if you're totally new to Storyblok. And if you want to create these new spaces to create your project from scratch, then there is an Add Space green button. Then you will be navigated to choose in between two options to create new spaces. So first of all, if you want to create everything from scratch, brand new, like white blank paper, then you can choose this new space and you can give a name in this input, and you can select the server location between EU and US. And if you're really, really new but want to, let's say, like have a quick demo which has already filled in content, data, things like that, then you can choose this demo space which has predefined data and content. So then you can like even see the changes like on the fly without implementing the front end side at this point. But we are not going to talk about this part because that's something you also could explore on your end. But we want to write code. So I'm going to go to create a new space in here and give a new name. But in this case, to be quicker, because you don't want to see me in case if my internet connection would crash, I have already prepared a space for you. So while I'm moving into the already prepared space, you can create your new space if you're filling out the name in here and hit this create space button. It wouldn't take too long time. It's just gonna take I would say a few seconds to generate a new space for you. And I believe that if you're following the steps I was explaining, you already should have your space up and running. If not, let us know, because this is the point of doing the live streaming. I want to see if everyone is following along or enjoying the streaming. And if you get stuck in some steps, let us know while we are still connected. So it will be more interactive and that's more fun, right? So once you created your space,
Sorry, one
then,
more thing I wanted
oh
to
yeah,
mention. Yeah, this space that you are creating and that you will use if you are following our tutorial now. I just wanted to mention that Storyblok has a free tier that you can use for small projects or community projects. For instance, if you are creating your personal website, you can use it. So what I wanted to say is that you don't need to pay anything basically for this space that you are creating. You can follow this tutorial without having to pay anything, and you can even maintain that project without paying. So just wanted to mention that.
thanks. That's quite important information. If you want to explore something, then gotta be free, right? While you explore. So I hope you were able to follow along here so far. Super easy, just following the UI. And just wanted to quickly tell you there is a quick start for developers available. Once you start the new space and go into the get started, we're not going to follow this one because it's going to be too short for this live streaming. Again, it's going to be like less than 3 minutes. But if you want to try that out, while you're, let's say, like working on for something proof of concept that you really need to like build quickly and show it to, I don't know, like in your team internally or your customers, there is a way to follow the quick start. So you can also follow this way if you want to go with. Of course, there is the remix version as well. You would get to choose like on the terminal, I would say. So, as I said, we are not going to follow this quick start, but instead we are going to do from scratch. Then I'm going to go to the content right here. So by default, you have one, I would say, story. We don't call this as a page because you don't just distribute, your content to the websites. You also can distribute your content to like, for example, like AR, VR, or let's say mobile phone application or any other like devices out there. So that's why that we call I would say this element as story instead of just page. So going inside in here, and what I'm going to tell you first is that you're not going to see like instantly like what it has like being rendered, because first of all there's no connection in between your Storyblok and the remix application. In fact, we haven't yet like seeing any part of remix configuration yet. So that's where we are going to get started. So to do that, I think I'm going to first of all like create the new remix application. And to do, you can also come to our tutorial, like 5 minutes tutorial, like Facundo was sharing in the beginning, and you can grab this command to create the new remix project. So I'm going to copy and paste because I tend to do a lot of typos. So you can, copy npx create remix at latest, and then you can do like in anywhere you want. I'm just going to do in the most root. Now it's going to ask me a couple of questions where I want to create, like this application, and should I install already, like something like that. And now I'm okay to proceed this version of create remix. So I'm going to execute Y as meaning as yes. And now it's going to install a couple of dependencies. It shouldn't take too long, but my laptop today is really behaving heavy. So be patient with me if it's going to take a
Monday,
little
it's
bit
Monday.
long. Yeah, it's Monday and it's
You need.
evening in a European time zone.
That's also true.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to create this one in code 12, and it's going to install, initiate the Git. This would be up to you. If you want to initiate a new GitHub repository, then you can do that. Git repository, sorry. But I would say like no, because I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. But you could choose yes too if you want to install dependencies with npm yes. And it's going to install. Oh, actually, Remix changed the UI around here. That's interesting. I just checked it out like a few days ago, like before the weekend, and I think they changed the UI, in my opinion. Yeah, I
Yep.
like it. I'm interested in what they use for here. It's a nice one.
It's simpler, right? Like, beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, Yeah. Actually, Astro also has the similar, but the more purplish kind of stuff. I wonder like what they use behind the scenes in here. Hmm.
If any
That could
person
be.
connected to the stream knows the answer, feel free to share that with us.
Oh yeah, that's so true. It's not like we know everything. Yeah, we also experiment a lot of things and learn things from the process. I think it's just my laptop is being really, really slow today. Sorry about that. But instead, you can chat. Or Facundo, you also could chat anything you want.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. Actually, I was sending some messages in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Um, No, what I wanted to mention before when you were talking about the story concept, yes, as Arisa mentioned, we call these entities as stories because you can use them in different ways. Probably in this example that we are going to see, as Remix is a website framework. I mean, you use Remix to create websites. It will probably you will see a similarity between the concept of a story and probably a web page, but you can use a story in different ways. You can use a story as a content entity that you are referring from other places on your project, or probably a mobile application or a desktop application. Yeah, that's basically one of the benefits, let's say, of managing and handling. Oh, we're having an issue.
Oh,
Of
it's my first time. First time ever with Remix. Really?
but
Okay. That
this is
is
a live
interesting.
stream, so this is how the things get fun,
Yeah.
let's say. So
Yeah,
let me check.
fun, fun.
Um,
It shouldn't
but yeah,
happen, but
no,
yeah,
no,
to
no.
save our time, I have things already like installed, so we could
Makes
follow
sense.
along. Yeah, if it makes sense,
Probably,
because I'm 100% sure when I tried out before a weekend, it worked, and it didn't take this
yeah,
long.
yeah. Actually, I
So
tried the same like 1 hour before the stream, and everything was working for me. So probably it's related
yeah,
to, I don't know, the speed,
I
download
guess
speed,
my
or something
laptop.
like that.
Yeah, because my laptop is really working hard, and I can hear the fan. Yeah.
It's because of the summer. The summer is ending, and the last hits of the summer probably no.
Yeah, no, I was running something really heavy right before and
Mm.
nowadays and never shut down. So I guess I really bullied my laptop too
So the
much.
laptop is asking for a retreat.
Could be, could be. Yeah. So forget about like what you saw right now, but I assume that you already run this one and now you should have like your project ready for you. So let me pull my other source code where I have. You're gonna see my desktop, but don't worry, I don't have something that I shouldn't show you. Okay, so it looks a bit small. Let me maximize a bit more. One more. Yeah, there you go. If it's too small, then let us know by writing in the chat. Then I'm happy to adjust, the resolution. So you shouldn't see this yet, but I would say like, yeah, this is already like configured. So you're not gonna see me typing it, but you can see like, where I'm going to highlight is followed by the steps that we are going to cover together. So here by default, you have, like this app directory, this public necessary configurations, couple of configurations. You might still miss it because we haven't yet installed the Tailwind CSS to apply the styles in the end. So don't worry if you don't have this one, but you should have at least remix config, readme, package.json, app directory, etc. So if you have all these kind of, let's say, necessary configuration, you're good to go. And the first thing you're going to do is installing one dependency is called Storyblok React. So this is the React SDK that Storyblok maintains officially. Facundo is one of the maintainers. So yeah, he knows like quite a lot of things. Oh, I know you know a lot of things in there. So
And
if you
any
have
complaint
questions,
or any message, you know where to address them.
I'm not here to blame him or point him to, like where all the blames would, like should direct. But No, just saying, he knows the React SDK stuff, so it should be up to date. So this is the newest version of the SDK. And once you install with I'm going to write this down because it doesn't make sense if I'm just going to say that. npm install, and then there's Storyblok, and then React. Oh, I missed which I shouldn't do that. So if you run npm install or then you can, get the most updated version of it. So far, I would say that's it. We have one more to install, but this is not directly related to Remix. It's more about the styling. So I'm going to just stop for installing the relevant dependencies that you need additionally. So once you add it, then you should add the dependencies. Careful that you shouldn't see, at the dev dependencies. It should be at the dependencies. That's one thing. So I'm going to close the terminal. And then after that, I would say let's go to our blog post in here to follow the steps. So we want to run, first of all, the localhost with your Remix app so that you're sure that your Remix app is up and running by installing the Create Remix app. So to do that, the Remix is, I think I'm going to close this terminal because we are not going to use it. So to do that, let me open up here. And then now you can see the npm script, which is already defined from the Create Remix app, says dev is for developing. So we can run npm run dev, and it should be up and running with localhost 3000, in my opinion. If my laptop is going to yell at me again, then I'm going to pass the ball to Facundo, which has probably better laptop condition than my today's laptop. It's always good to have a backup each other. It's going to take quite a long time. What do you think, Facundo?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I have my faith put on, but I will be preparing some backup, let's say.
Oh yeah, I have already something coming up. Remix is fast. That's why I like it. Yeah.
Probably we are missing something. What if you run npm install again?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, this is as it was before when I tested right before the weekend started. So I didn't change anything except the preview API key token, which we are going to cover later on. Yeah, but let's see. Yeah. If it's gonna take way longer time, then I think I'm gonna ask Facundo to take over. Because I feel bad for your audience to, wait for my slow laptop. Okay, let's see. npm run dev and see how it goes. Okay. Nice. Oof, it worked. That's a good start. So I'm going to show you that it's working locally. And okay, I have something here, which I've never experienced that. This happens from Remix side.
I think that we are missing
of course.
The preview token.
Yeah, that's why, of course, yeah. Yeah, because it says unauthorized. So this happens because we connect our Remix application and the Storyblok space with a special API key token. For this reason, we use the preview API key token. So I'm going to show you what I've been telling preview API key token. So going back to our space that we are going to work on, we are going to exit for a moment from the content visual editor, and instead we're going down to the settings in the most bottom. So here is the place where you can actually find the access tokens from access tokens on the left hand side. In here you have by default 3 different kind of API key token. But if you need like something different levels, you can always come here and make it. But for now, we are developing, so that's why I'm going to grab this preview API key token instead of public. So what I'm going to do is going back to my VS Code, and then I am going to store that in a place where we should store right here. So this is the root.jsx file that you also should have by default. So remix create app, the create remix app already generates this file by default. So you don't need to create by yourself. Open up, like this root.jsx file. By the way, this I would say live streaming and our tutorial follows the JavaScript approach. We don't use the TypeScript, but if you want to use it, feel free to do it. Maybe like in the future, like we might update the content with TypeScript. But for a moment, we stick to the JavaScript. So that's why like you see the JSX in here. So I think I'm going to close this one for now, because where I want you to pay attention is this right here, the Storyblok init. So this is something you need to add in your code, more precisely on your file of the root.jsx file. So that's something additionally you are going to add. And if you follow the tutorial, you can find this part of the code snippet. So feel free to, copy and paste to prevent the typo. My tips for you always, like when you follow the tutorial, when you can copy and paste the code, try to do that. So this is how you can do. But of course, here at the access token, you need to change the values. Access tokens are going to be different in every single, spaces. So even you have an account and you have several spaces, none of the spaces would have the same API key token. And if you want to regenerate a new API key token, you can do that. So in my case, I'm going to replace, like this string value into my preview API key token that I just took from my space. So I can hit the save button. And of course, to use this special API, which is coming from our React SDK, that's why we installed these dependencies, you should import, like right here. Import Storyblok init API plugin from Storyblok React. So this API plugin is something that you see the value in here inside of the Storyblok init. So to initialize, let's say like to initialize to use the Storyblok and then the JS bridge, all these, like good features to enable in the end the visual editor and also like loading the dynamic components, you need to initialize at once in here. So these two steps are quite important in this root.jsx file. I would leave how to, let's say, like load the dynamic component for a moment, because that would require a few more steps to do that. So first of all, let's make sure that it should work. So I'm going to actually like comment this part out so that we should see what we should see at this step. Yeah, I might also need to disable the styling that I additionally put it, but let's see.
You probably also
First.
need to.
Yeah.
I think that the components list was there. I'm not sure if it's going to throw an error with the imports.
Yeah.
17, yeah.
Yeah, I
no,
have a component. Yeah. Oh yeah, I haven't it commented out, but yeah, you're right. I should do that. This is something we're going to cover later on when we are going to work on for loading the dynamic components. So don't worry about like where I commented out. I just want to display how it's going to look the same in your environment too. So let's get back to where we were working on, but we need to actually check here because something like stopped me right here.
Oh no, I think that was the. If you run it again, it should work. I think.
Yeah, I should be able to have. Before I run the localhost again, I wanted to quickly mention about that we need to set the HTTPS enabled preview, because localhost by default from Remix provides HTTP, but on the Storyblok visual editor, it needs to have HTTPS, available, preview URL. So to do that, you can, follow these steps to install the necessary dependencies. And then there are a few more, I would say, npm scripts that you can run. So if you have already run these, let's say, configurations or the commands before, then you can just run this last part. You can just copy and paste because the target has been already set to what Remix, offers like by default. So I'm going to go back in here and then probably add another one in here. Oh no, I think it's not my day today.
No,
You
no.
can tell that.
What you can do is if you go to the root, I mean you are inside of
Oh yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. That's the reason why. Yes, nice. See, that's the point having, like the different time
This is
zones.
the
In my brain, like it's like already evening mode. Facundo's brain is like had a nice lunch, kind of, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to have the lunch later. Yeah, this is what
Oh,
is why
okay.
because I mean
Okay.
after lunch I would be in nap mode. So yeah,
So we got you in the best time, right? Like most productive time. I
exactly,
hope.
exactly. I mean I'm hungry, but you know.
Yeah. The more you get hungry, the more you can concentrate on. I hope. Okay.
No,
So,
just wanted to mention two things. This HTTPS, we are doing it because Storyblok from a year or so, it's a requirement to use a URL inside the preview inside the visual editor using HTTPS. We are doing this to kind of enforce the people to use a secure connection on their websites. So we are doing that from Storyblok. So if you need an HTTPS URL to see the visual editor and work on the content that you are creating, you can be sure that it's going to be a secure connection when you are deploying your website to production. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, this visual editor that we are going to use right now is going to show a real website. Storyblok is not rendering a preview of the content. We are going to see the real website that we are creating, and that's why we are pointing in this case to the local host to see the website that Arisa is going to host locally on her computer.
yeah, thanks a lot for more details. Yeah, because we tend to get, questions around when it comes to setting up and sometimes the meaning why we do this. So there's the reasons behind. There's one quick things we want to configure before we're going to see, what is, like served from the local host side. So there is one icon that says entry configuration because by default on the Storyblok visual editor, it would add home because of the name of this story. So we have let's say like the I don't want to go too deep about it, but when you're going to create the new stories, then by filling out the new story's name, automatically the Storyblok already, like gives the name by following the name you gave. So that's the reason why. But there's the place called entry configuration, and more precisely at the real path to fix how it should be. So we don't want to have this home. So to erase or remove this home, then I'm going to just set the one single /, save and close. And now when I change the URL to HTTPS, like localhost, then it shouldn't have the home. So I should be able to see, oh, the content. Okay, today's my challenging day. What I got this time cannot be the property page. Because I have defined the dynamic components already, but I'm commenting out. That's the reason why I'm getting it. But in your case, if you're following, like the steps along, you shouldn't see that. In fact, you should see, not this one, you should see welcome to remix, which looks a bit old in my opinion, this one, but it doesn't matter because we are going to render our own dynamic component and we are going to apply the styles later on. So if you see the most simple, welcome to remix, purview, then you're good to go. But the point is, at this point, your, let's say, the visual editor screen and the right-hand side of where you're going to store the content doesn't match, because this part we haven't yet created, let's say, like any connections. So our visual editor uses the approach to communicate through iframe. But to communicate through iframe, we need to enable the JS bridge and configure a couple of more, options, and need to create the components that should follow this structure. So we have one component called teaser, which has a field type called headline. And then there is another component called grid, which contains another nested children components. So these feature components would live inside of the grid component. And inside of the feature component, it has another field type called name. By the way, these inputs that you have so far seen, which you can also, change the name in here, are called field types. So to follow, these structures, we need to create all these corresponding components. And to do that, I'm going to go back to the VS Code. And let me put this a little bit more down so you can see more. So to do that, actually, you can have a look at where I commented out here before. So the reason why I commented out before is I wanted to initially, show what you also should see on the same screen. It failed because I have already created, these dynamic components. That's why it's yelling at me that, well, you shouldn't comment out. So the first thing is like we are going to create these 4 components because that's what we also see on our Storyblok visual editor. To do that, to actually create these, dynamic components, you can create a new folder, new directory. You can give a name to like something different, but to follow like more simple way with this tutorial article, you can give a name as components. And then, oh, no worries. Sorry, I just paid attention to some internal chat. Okay, so there is the folder that you can create, and inside in here, that's where we are going to store all these 4 dynamic components. And these dynamic components have slightly like some different, roles. And I think I already explained about like how the teaser would work, grid work, and the feature. But there is one special component which I haven't yet covered called page. So this page, let me go back to the visual editor again. So this page component is something that you can find on top of, on the right-hand side, right here. But to be more like visualized, I would say like go into this block library where all the components are gathered and organized. And this is also the place where you can create the new components too. So in here, like if I have a look at this page and you have, something, let's say a column called like body. So this body is actually a component that you can, like nest another component inside because it's a special type of the component, which says blocks. So actually like you can, select different types of the component to, first of all, just, like assign as the short text or text area or even rich text, etc. And then from here, you can find, like the blocks right here. So that's what I chose when I was creating, like this field type to nest another component inside. So what this page component would work, like as one of the components would be that it will act as a, for example, page template. So it's the really, I would say like the most parent component to nest any other components inside. So inside of this page component, all the rest of, feature, grid, and teaser components would live, being nested inside. So that's one special component I wanted to explain. So we are going to first create this page component. Then we can, go down to like more nested level. So going back to the visual editor, and then I'm going to create or I already created, but you can create a new file called page.jsx in this case. So in this here, you can actually grab, the same code from the code snippet on our, Remix 5 minutes tutorial to prevent a typo, because typo is the worst, bug to hunt after all. You don't want to spend another hours, to hunt like just one tiny typos. So go grab the same, code snippet from our tutorial that Facundo already shared in the beginning of this live streaming, and then you can paste in here. And I want to explain two APIs that we provide from the Storyblok, React SDK. So there's one called Storyblok Editable. So this is a special API by wrapping, the components where you want to make it, like interactive and real-time live editing. So that's why like I'm adding, like this Storyblok Editable API in the, I would say, the most outer layer of the JSX scope. So inside in here, this block prop would hold the, how should I explain, like all the data that is actually provided from our content delivery API. And to see all the paths, you can come to the visual editor, and then on here, right hand side in the very top, where you see the down arrow with the green button, there's an option of draft JSON. And I'm going to choose this one instead of published because I didn't publish this content yet. So I'm going to open up this draft JSON and let me maximize a bit. Oops, that's a bit too huge. And inside in here, the data data which is provided from our content delivery API starts from story, and then the next layer would be content to let's say fetch the data that lives inside of like somewhere components. And then inside of the content, there is the body. So this story, content, body are the data paths that this, block prop would hold it. Because you want to, like map, like any nested components, programmatically. You don't want to do this part of the job manually by monitoring, like your source code day-to-day life. No, you have other things to do. So that's why you're going to store the rest of the path, the beginning of the path in this block prop, and the rest, it's an array object. That's why you can just, map after the part, after this, body part. So this nested block would inherit what this, the previous, I would say the data path was holding it. And inside of this page component file, we want to only, store the page component relevant data path to render. So that would be like this nested block. First of all, that's what we assign. And for the nested block UID, because we are going to map as an array object. So you need to have something identical key values. So I would say like at this point, now we have a page template, which we call at Storyblok as the content type ready. So I think we can now import this component into the root.jsx file. And then there's one more step to complete loading this dynamic component. So inside of the Storyblok init, there is actually a place where you can store the dynamic components to render in the end. But as we have several dynamic components, I don't want to make this, the scope inside of the Storyblok init to be really long. I guess if you have something production ready application, and then it's going to be really, really long, and it's going to be so hard to read it. So that's why like I set another, I would say, const value to store, the component's name. So these three components are not yet ready, so I'm going to comment it out. But what I can do is I have my page component ready. So I'm going to call the name. This should follow, this should actually, this value should match, like with the component file name. So make sure that you have the corresponding, like component's name. So in the end, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to call this components variable. So I'm going to hit the save button and see if I have something. No, nothing is yelling at me. Okay, so let's go back to our visual editor and see what's gonna happen. All right, so I don't see any errors, but instead, maybe you might see that just a blank, but this is not just a blank. There is a huge progress we made. So first of all, we enable the JS bridge to communicate through iframe to enable the real-time live editing feature. We cannot see this feature yet because we haven't yet created the rest of the three dynamic components, teaser, grid, and feature. But the page content type, which works as a page template, is enabled. The reason why I can tell is this dotted wrapper line. So that's one of the signs that you can tell that, okay, the JS bridge is called, and the rest of the part, we need to check if a couple of the corresponding events are, like being lessened or not. But to do that, we need to go more further steps to first of all create the rest of the three dynamic components, and then like rendering them. Yeah, I would say like I know like I talked quite a lot, and I don't want Facundo to be like silent anymore, because I know he's really like funny person and really like entertaining person. So if you're okay, or if you're really like excited for the rest of the steps, I would ask you, would you like to take the rest of the steps from here?
Actually, I was going to, because I was seeing the time. What I was going to suggest is probably. I mean, I was planning to mention some theoretical things, let's say, of what's going on, but probably what we can do is showing. I mean, how to render the rest of the components, and
Okay.
from my point of view, we can call it a day. Mainly not to make it super long, but I mean,
Yeah.
What I wanted to, and it's super cool what you were sharing, Arisa. Probably the some of the cool things that we can see here, and mainly considering that we are using a framework like Remix that is based in React, is the possibility that the Storyblok provides us to structure the content in a component approach, like from a probably from a content editor or a marketer point of view. It's great to have reusable components across your whole website and different parts of your project, let's say. But as a developer, when you have to display the content that is being created, it's super cool if you can manage the content and the content structures in the same way that you manage the presentation layer. I mean, the front end of your application. So if you're using a framework like Remix that is based on React, you can create React components that are reflecting the components that you are creating in Storyblok. So as Arisa was showing, in this example, we have a page component into Storyblok, and we are creating a React page component that is the visual representation of that component. And that is why we are creating this and using this Storyblok component that is a dynamic component that will help us to render all the components that we have on our pages, no matter how nested they are, no matter the nesting level that we are following. Because this Storyblok component, this dynamic component, is super helpful, as it is going to bring all the different components that are coming from the Storyblok API and rendering them into our page, no matter the nesting level, no matter how they are structured, no matter how they are defined or anything. And you as a developer, you don't want to create like a whole new page, let's say, for every page that the content editors are creating. So if you can create somehow a generic way of rendering the content, and following that same logic, you can render all the content of your website, that's super helpful. So how do you get that? With the combination of the component approach that the Storyblok has, the Storyblok component that is provided by the SDK that Storyblok provides. I was going to say we created, but it sounds like, I'm a developer, I created an SDK. Well, yeah, we created them, but you are using it and you are getting the advantage of the SDKs to make the work easier for you. And then when you have that, you can render the content that the people is creating into Storyblok. I mean, the content editors, the marketers, into the front end of your application. And with all the people that is going to continue create the content and new pages and new parts of the pages, you don't need to add anything to the code base that you created for to render your website. So basically that's the whole point on this. we have we are making it easier for the people that is creating the content, having reusable content structures, and not only that, having a visual editor where you can see the content that you are creating and how it is going to look like. And in the meantime, we are making the work easier for the developers to render that content without having to think on the specific parts or the specific modules that you are creating. And that is how we are dynamically render all the different components that we have on our project. What I was going to suggest, Arisa, is if we can add the more magic about these components and show how to render them. And I think that we can probably organize a second call and chill related to Remix and Storyblok to show more stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like for, let's say, the rest of 2 more minutes, I would say like I can very quickly like cover the rest of the steps as I already have code and ready. So yeah. Because I mean,
you got me.
in the beginning, like I was going to do like from a scratch, but somehow my laptop really like hated me today. So that's why like I had to use already, like working, like application. So let's cover the rest of the steps very quickly. And maybe like if we get like, I don't know, like some additional requests in the future, then yeah, of course, we're happy to cover, like many more Remix with Storyblok content. So I think you already got the point how you can, like first of all, create a dynamic component, and then, how you can import and how you can define to render in the end. So I would say like, because of the time we have left, you can have a look at the rest of, the 3 dynamic components, how you can define it. Honestly, like what I explained is kind of already in there. So you already know, where to have a look at the data structures from the draft JSON, and how to look at, the path and how to store the data into the props and how you call it by following the field types name, basically. So I have already created these feature grid and then the teaser component. So I'm going to import them and then call inside of the Storyblok init, where I already did by calling this variable name. So when I hit the save button, because I have already defined these rest of the 4 components, also plus with the styling, that's why now you see, like more defined, I would say, the dotted line wrappers around the component. So there is the teaser component. When I click, then on the right hand side, you saw quickly it directed to the teaser's headline. So if I want to change this into like something more, and then like I can do like more, adding remix-ish emojis here. So now you can see the real-time visual editing feature. And when you hit the save button, I guess I'm going to reduce 2 more these. And then you can see, the current progress has been saved without hitting the publish button. So if you want to share this current progress, you can easily generate the preview preview URL. It's my evening in my local time, so bear with me. You can have, this preview URL available for anyone who you want to share. So even the one who doesn't have the access to Storyblok, you can share with them to, like have a review from them if you need. And also, like, not just changing the text value. If you want to change the order of this teaser and grid, you can do that by click, then drag and drop. It is because, like, we enable the magic part, the first of all, initializing, the JS bridge and then calling them. And then, of course, using, a couple of important APIs such as Storyblok editable and Storyblok component to handle, the dynamic components rendering, stuff like that, and with the live editing feature. So that's the magic. You might not see, like this styling applied. Well, it is because I have already installed the Tailwind CSS and already added, some class attributes. So you can follow, like on our tutorial, Remix Storyblok 5 minutes tutorial, and all the necessary or exactly the same, class attributes were already added into the source code snippet. So if you follow, like this tutorial, then you should be able to see that. And this is more of an option because it's not related to Remix and Storyblok. So if you have time, try adding this style to make it look nice, but you don't have to follow exactly. So I would say like that's what we wanted to cover And as it was a live streaming, unexpected things would happen always, right? But
But
I hope.
that's how you have fun. I mean, if everything
Yeah, yeah,
works okay,
yeah.
like okay, you
Then
what
it's gonna
are
be
you a
too
robot?
boring, right?
Are you like Chat GPT? Like you do everything like nah, be careful with that.
Oh
Actually, it would be
yeah.
cool to ask Chat GPT like, can you build a website using Remix and Storyblock and see what's
Oh
going on
yeah.
there? Ah, I leave that to the people in the chat or probably Copilot to see
Yeah,
how it's working. Um, no, I mean, cool. What you were showing, Arisa. Thank you very much for that. It's super cool. Actually, it was displaying this the how helpful is a Storyblok for the people that is creating the content because as you were editing the content, you were able to see in real time how that content is going to look like. Again, using your real front end, not generating a preview by Storyblok. I mean, this is the real front end with the logic that you define in your front end with the help of the Storyblok bridge, which is this magical tool that you are enabling when you run this Storyblok init function that Arisa showed before how to configure. And the same with the list of components. When you are creating new components that you want to manage on your project, you can do that using the Storyblok init function. I mean, you can initialize a connection between the components that you are defining into Storyblok with the React components that you are using in the front end of your application, which are going to be the visual representation of these same components. Why we are doing this list? In order to tell this Storyblok component, a dynamic component that we are using on the code to say, hey, if the Storyblok API is returning you a feature component, you should render this React component, which in this case is, well, the React component called feature, of course. But we are creating this map where we set which components are going to come from the Storyblok API and from the content delivery API that Storyblok offers in this JSON structure that Arisa showed before, and which React components you should use to render the components that are coming inside this JSON object or JSON structure. One thing that I wanted to mention, which was lately added to the React SDK, is that this map of components, you can reset them in every part of your application. Let's say that you don't know at the beginning of your project, I mean, in the root of your project, you don't know the whole list of components that you are going to use for all the pages, or you probably don't want to define the whole list of components that you are going to use for all your pages. You can set like localized versions of this component map using a function that is included into the React SDK that I will leave the homework to you to go to the README file of the React SDK and read how to do that. But you have the possibility of doing that in the case that you want. I think that what we covered was pretty much a lot. I mean, we came from not having anything to having a new Storyblok space to having a new React Remix project. And we did this even going step by step, so you see the details on or of what is going on. As Arisa mentioned at the beginning of the stream, if you go to the quick start page of the Storyblok space when you create it, you can use the Storyblok create demo CLI that the product team of Storyblok developed to magically set up a remix project, or I would say any JavaScript-based framework project using Storyblok. I wouldn't say any because we are not covering all of them, but we are covering a lot of options. So if you go to exactly that page that Arisa is showing and you run the command that is in the step 2 in the terminal of your computer, you will have a brand new project created using any option between a list of different frameworks that we are managing to create a brand new project and connect it automatically to the space that you created into Storyblok. So really, in 3 minutes, you can have a brand new project up and running.
Yeah, yeah. I guess Facundo like gave all the very important like things in a nutshell. So I think like if you don't have time or really need to create proof of concept like in a very less few minutes, then I would recommend, as Facundo said, quick start. And Remix is in as one of the options. So yeah, go get like your go get trying like this quick start, and you will be like quite surprised, like like why you guys like didn't do this from the beginning. But the point is that we wanted to explain you and show you the logic behind, because if you do try out this quick start, then everything would be ready. So you might see like what would be the magic behind the scenes. But yeah, you got the point. So I would say like with that, we could wrap it up, our show, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And yeah, okay, now we're back to as it was before in the beginning. Whew, that was a quite ride for me. But
It
I
was
hope you
cool,
enjoyed.
right? I mean,
Yeah, it was really fun. But
it
it
had
was really first
fun,
time for me,
action,
like
like
yeah, to see like something like didn't work like as I expected. So yeah, usually like it should be like much more smooth, right? It's just like yeah, sometimes happens. But everything worked in the end. So yeah. But I guess to wrap it up, I could probably like do a little bit of shameless, like announcement, because not just Code and Chill, but in Storyblok's on Twitch, we have also another streamings, and there's one of them like right coming up. I'm in there. It's called Girl Code Coffee Chat. So in the next Girl Code Coffee Chat, I believe it's in 26th of September. So it would be like in less than 2 weeks. No, sorry, it would be in less than a week. Yes, thank you, Kat. Kat is in the behind the scene moderating all the backstage. Thank you. So you can actually join our another different streaming called Girl Code Coffee Chat, and the next content would be like like discovering, exploring Astro 3.0 and Bun 1.0. So we're going to like explore what's new in their changelogs. We have a very nice special guest with us. So I would keep let's say like this info for you to find out by yourself by joining the streamings. And yeah, we are going to stream like from 4 p.m. Central European time zone. So it would be slightly earlier than Code and Chill. So make sure that you, I would say, like follow our Twitch channel so that you get the notification, or like follow us on social media, so you will have the info coming right up to your notification. Yeah, that's all from my side. Whew, but I really had fun. How about you, Facundo?
I was
You're
muted. Sorry.
muted.
Yeah. Sorry, this keeps happening. It was really fun. It was really fun. Actually, I was listening to you mentioning what's coming for the next session. Some interesting topics. I mean, I recommend the people to subscribe. I don't know what's the word used in Twitch, but to subscribe and follow the Storyblok Twitch account, because some interesting things are being discussed and well, by fun and cool people like Arisa in this case. So you can join and enjoy.
Yeah, let's keep discovering new things.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Then I would say thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Yeah, let's hope to see each other pretty much soon. Have a nice day.
See you soon. Have a good rest of the day.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.